everyone, this is a movie for Excel Chapter 2, Pause and Practice number 3. This is movie number 3, and we're on step 6 on page E2-128. We're going to look at the sum product. And so first of all, we need to figure out what does that mean. What is a sum product? So let's analyze the word sum product. So sum product. So if we think back to our math, sum is the summation or addition of values, right? And product is the multiplication of values, right? So a sum product assumes that you're going to multiply some values and then add those answers. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So in this merchandise, what we want to do is determine the inventory value at cost. So what does that mean? Well, here's our cost, but this cost is for a single flashlight. But we have 2 flashlights in inventory. So we would have to take the unit cost times how many we have, the quantity, right? So that would give us a value. We would do that for every one of these and then add the answers together. So if we were doing this longhand, we would take these, like each of these, right? And then take the sum of all of these numbers. Let's just leave this here and see if it works out. So we multiplied each of the costs by the quantity to get the total cost for flashlights that we paid for that are in stock. So we do that for every item. We add all of those up to get our inventory value at cost. So, you know, but if you have a lot and things change, then this long way is much more difficult to maintain. So let's talk about how we could use the function of a sum product to take care of it. So the sum product is a math and trig. So I'm on formula. I'm sitting where the answer is. So that's C16. I want to go to the math and trig. That is where the function is found. And I'm going to move down and find sum product. So all we're going to do here is define the arrays. And so the arrays are, what are the 2 areas that you want to multiply, right? So the first area would be cost, the second area would be quantity. So here's the big thing, is that these arrays have to match. So if however many elements you have in array 1, you have to have a matching in array 2. So when I'm on array 1, I'm going to select cost, right? So that's my first set of numbers. The second set of numbers is this corresponding. So how the system does it is the first element in the first array, 875, matches up with the first element in the second array. Now, they happen to be next to each other, but they don't have to be. They just have to be in the same order, right? So the flashlight cost and the flashlight quantity have to both be the first element in the arrays. The lanterns have to be the 1, 2, 3, 4th element, right? They don't have to be next to each other like this, but they do have to be in the same order, and they have to have the same number of elements. So look, 134, that's what we got when we did it longhand. Perfect, it matched up. So I'm going to get rid of that. So let's do that again, but we're going to do it for inventory value at retail. So let's practice it again. So we're going to go math and trig. We're going to do sum product. First array is not cost, but retail, right? So we want to do our sales price. So the flashlight cost $8.75. We sell it for $15, but we still have 2 in inventory. So we still do the quantity the same. It's just we're looking at the sales price. So $2.40. And then what we could do is we could subtract these 2 values and see what the profit is, $105 from these items that we have in stock. If I were to sell every item out, we'd gross, $105 doesn't seem like very much, right? So notice that these numbers are 134.9, 240.32. Oftentimes you could use the round function, and what the round function does, it allows you to set a position that you round to. So you could round to 0, which makes it a whole number. You could round to 1, which would be 1 decimal. 2 would be 2 decimals. I could round to a -1. So negative numbers go left of the decimal. So I could go to the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 100,000, the millions. So you could round up that way. You would do that with a negative number. If you include a positive number, it is the number of decimal places. A 0 would make it a whole number. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put our cursor right here, and what we're going to round is the value found here. So I'm going to start, and it's a math and trig function, and I'm going to look for round. And round has 2 elements. One, what number are you rounding, and how many digits. So the number I'm rounding is here, and the number of digits that I'm going to do is 0. Okay? So it rounds 134.9 to 135. Let's copy that down. 240. So let's talk about rounding. So rounding rules are 5 and more round up a number, less than 4 round down. So these are 2 examples. The 0.9 is greater than or equal to 0.5, so it rounds up. You end up with 135. 240, the 0.32 is less than 0.5, so it rounds down. Okay? All right, so that was step 6 and 7. The next thing we want to look at, oh, this one I really like. It is the payment function. So you want to go to the canoes. So the payment function is something that you could use in your life, right? You're looking to buy a house, a car, a boat, an RV, something that you're going to make payments over a period of time, and it's a fixed interest rate. So those are the kind of the qualifiers. The interest rate for using payment has to be a fixed rate. And what it will return is it will return the payment that you make. So it's nice to play with this. So you're looking to buy, how much can I afford to write that check every month for that house or that car or that boat or that snowmobile or whatever. So the payment is one way to kind of see that, and you can play with the numbers and see, okay, what if I can get a little better interest rate, or what if I make it a 5-year loan instead of a 4-year loan? How is that going to affect my monthly payment, right? So payment has a lot of uses. We're going to look at the scenario here where we're buying 6 canoes and 15 canoes. Here's the amount we're going to borrow, the loan amount, and we want to look at 2 years to repay at 4.5 annual percentage rate. 15 canoes are going to cost us $8,500. We're going to take 4 years at a fixed interest rate of 5.25 APR. So one of the things that you need to pay attention to on the payment function is the interest rate is always given to you as an annual rate. You need to divide that to a periodic rate. Normally you divide it by 12 because most of the time we write 12 checks towards a loan in a year, 1 a month, right? So you would always divide that interest rate by 12, or if you were making quarterly payments, you would divide by 4, but I think that's less often that you do that kind of thing. I would say 99% of the time you're writing a check every month, so you divide by 12. The second thing that you want to think about is the value in how many payments are going to be made. If it's given to you in years, you don't just write 2 checks in the life of the loan. You write a check a month for 2 years. So you would have to multiply this, if it's this value, by how many times you're going to write that check in a year. Usually, once again, 12. If it's given to you in years. If it's given to you in, like months, then you don't have to do anything. You always have to do that for the interest rate. So let's go ahead and do this one and walk through it. So we're going to go to formulas, and this is a financial function. So we're going to go to finance. We're going to find PMT. All right. So there's 3 things that are required and 2 optionals. So the first thing is, what is my interest rate? Well, that's right there. Here's the kicker. always remember, divide by 12. Always write it down. Divide by 12. This is our periodic interest rate. This is the annual rate. That's when you look at interest rates, it's always given like APR. All right, number of payments. Well, we're going to do 2 years, but I know I'm not writing just 2 checks. I know I'm writing a check a month, so it's that times 12, because I write 12 checks in 1 year. And then the present value is just a fancy way of saying the amount of the loan. And one of the things here is this is going to give you an answer in a negative. I always put a negative sign here. The book doesn't have you do that in this example, but you will have to do that later. And here's why you do it. You're just reversing the sign of the answer. When you leave it in a negative, it's hard to deal with that number to do any further calculations. But the reason it's a negative is because that's really, you're writing that and it's being removed from your overall loan amount. So it is a reduction of your overall loan amount. So it is subtracting 210 from it. Then the next thing that, let's see, do we have to do okay, so under type, we're going to do 1, which means that the payment's going to be at the beginning of the month. So we end up with a 209, a negative. So I'm going to go ahead and do OK, and that's correct. So let's do this second one. We're going to do it longhand, so we're going to do equal PMT, parentheses. Notice here we've got little helpers. So right now we're on rate, always divide by 12. When you're ending, we're done defining the rate, we do a comma, it moves to the next value. The number of payments, 4 times 12, comma, present value, 8,500, and then we don't want anything in future value, so we're going to do that. And then beginning of the period, so we're going to put a 1, and then end our parentheses. Okay, so that is a much longer, harder way, and like that's the way I do it, but I've been doing it for a long time. I highly recommend using the insert function dialog box to work with something that complex. All right, I'm going to end this. I'm over time, and we're at the end of this pause and practice. So, and we're at the end of this chapter. All right, guys, thank you.